Trade, economy, defense and cultural cooperation were the main topics of discussion between Prime Minister Modi and Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud during the latter's state visit. During the high-profile meeting at Delhi's Hyderabad House, the two leaders co-chaired the first leaders' meeting of the Strategic Partnership Council, a bilateral agreement between India and Saudi Arabia signed by the two nations in Riyadh in 2019. For India, Saudi Arabia counts as one of its closest and biggest strategic partners, is what the Prime Minister said. India-Saudi Arabia partnership is crucial for stability, welfare of the region and the world. As far as the G20 is concerned, we've also seen a huge presence of Saudi Arabia over there.
समय की जरूरतों के अनुसार हम हमारे संबंधों में नए और आधुनिक आयाम जोड़ रहे हैं। भारत के लिए सऊदी अरब हमारे सबसे महत्वपूर्ण स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनर में से एक है। विश्व की दो बड़ी और तेज गति से बढ़ने वाली अर्थव्यवस्थाओं के रूप में हमारा आपसी सहयोग पूरे क्षेत्र की शांति और स्थिरता के लिए महत्वपूर्ण है। हिज रॉयल हाइनेस के साथ बैठक के हमने हमारी करीबी साझेदारी को नेक्स्ट लेवल पर ले जाने के लिए कई इनिशिएटिव की पहचान की है। आज की हमारी बैठक से हमारे संबंधों को एक नई ऊर्जा, एक नई दिशा मिलेगी और हमें मिलकर मानवता की भलाई के लिए काम करते रहने की प्रेरणा मिलेगी। कल हमने मिलकर भारत, पश्चिम एशिया और यूरोप के बीच इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर स्थापित करने के लिए ऐतिहासिक शुरुआत की है।
Relations between Arabs and Indians, between Saudi Arabia also and India, beneficial relations for both countries. There was no disagreement at all during the history of this relationship, but there is cooperation to build the future of our country and create opportunities. Today we're working on the future opportunities. There is a huge agenda to be working with. We are working through this council to achieve these accomplishments, and these are promising, and I congratulate you on the management of the G20 summit and the initiatives achieved, including the economic corridor linking the Middle East, India and Europe, which require that we work diligently in order to create it into a reality. The Indians in Saudi Arabia had a large part in the economic growth of Saudi Arabia. Today they are 7% of the population of Saudi Arabia, and we consider them to be a part of Saudi Arabia. We watch and take care of them like we take care of our own citizens. We hope that this council will meet the aspirations of our people, and we wish us success.
Joining us now to focus on the India-Saudi Arabia relationship, I'm joined by Dr. Shubhda Chaudhary, editor for the Center for India and West Asia Dialogue. Thanks, ma'am, very much for being with us. Dr. Umair Anas, director for the Center for India West Asia Dialogue in New Delhi. And very happy to have with us Professor Zikrur Rehman, the former ambassador and director of the India Arab Center. Let's start with the big news on the possibility of, in fact, it's not a possibility, it's going to happen, a massive mega economic corridor between Europe and India. Firstly, let's talk about the basics. How exactly, sir, is it going to work?
This is a game-changing thing which is going to happen in the last many years. Especially the region has been attracted by the Chinese BRI. And many countries, India was saying that they are easily connected with them, and they were being promised with huge benefits of the BRI. But these benefits did not come as they were expected. So in the last few years, India and Middle East trade, especially non-oil trade, has expanded much. And with this in view, India and Europe relations, India and Middle East relations, and especially India's fine balancing between India, Saudi Arabia, all the Arab countries and Israel has also worked very well. So it was an opportunity for both India and West Asia, especially the Arab countries, to have a connectivity project in which all countries can play a role in a way that also answers, or which also reduce the dependency of smaller countries on this Chinese project. So this is happening in a way that is democratizing the trade space among the countries which was dominated by China.
Sure. Let me just get you in on this, sir. In simple terms, what does this imply? Are we looking at fuel flows coming into India? Are we looking at a more stable internet through undersea cables? What exactly, how exactly will this work for us?
No, this is not energy or internet, etc. Let me tell you what exactly. It is basically the revival of spice route. If you see that in the past, there was a route that Indian spices, Indian silk, and Indian pearls were being purchased by the Arabs, and the Arabs were taking it from India to their own country, and from there they were exporting it to Europe. This was exactly the system that was flowing. It was only in the 19th century that the Britishers had tried to take in their own hand, and they tried to be intermediary, and instead of directly having a trade between India's Arab world and Europe, they had taken and they had controlled it.
Right.
So, so it is just a revival of the old spice route in order to ensure that all the trade, it is not only the energy, all the trade that starts from India, all the trade which are there in the Middle East or in the West Asia. So we should continue and we should start again, reintroduce the same thing. See how from India the whole thing will go, or the Indian products, Indian producers will go from here to United Emirates, and from UAE it will go to Saudi Arabia, from Saudi Arabia to Jordan, from Jordan to Israel, Haifa, and from there to European countries.
So just to be sure, it's data to oil, gas to goods. So it is all of these.
It is all of these.
Right.
It is all of
these. So it's more than just the original spice route. It's very substantial in terms of what it proposes.
Yes. So now, of course, with the new things that are coming up, so it is more than that. Energy is a part of that.
So that's what I was pointing out. So, ma'am, what else, in specific terms, would India stand to gain from this, and vice versa?
So the first question, I think, why did it happen?
Yeah.
And the timing of it. So when China was involved in creating a rapprochement or easing out the tension between Iran and Saudi Arabia, that is when the NSA advisors of US, India and all met and decided that there has to be an economic corridor, along with a new Quad in the Middle East or West Asia, which includes Israel. In the new Quad, it will be Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, if there is a peaceful part of Abrahamic Accords, then the I2U2. Now, what exactly is this happening for? First, the diaspora of India, 2.6 million Indians who are there in Saudi Arabia, connected. The Gujarat coast will be connected to the coast of Jeddah. It is costing an investment of $18 billion. Along with it, the natural hydrogen clean energy cables that would be set up underground, which would be connecting the Indian Ocean, because, as I said before, that the ripples of what happened in the South China Sea, all the regional powers and superpowers are scared about it. And the third most important thing is that in today's effort, in today's day and time, when US is trying to take a step back from West Asia in terms of military, it still needs to create some kind of power which is not geopolitics but geoeconomics in today's term. So these are very essential when it comes to navigating what it means, and it's going to make a massive investment for India, as well as all the countries that are involved, because it is also the emergence of a world which does not or would not like to trade in dollar. It is also the emergence of a world which is much more multipolar, much more symbiotic, realist in nature, and also the identities and interests of people, much more of fluidity when it comes. In a world which is now fighting for economic protectionism, it is trying to create its own narrative.
Sure. Yeah. Dr. Anas, what I find interesting is also what the US president had to say. And I quote, "This is a big deal. This is really a big deal, a game-changing regional investment, building sustainable, resilient infrastructure, making quality infrastructure investments and creating a better future, a future that presents far greater opportunity. You know, when we talk about resilient supply chains, it's a phrase which is used for everything, from semiconductors to fuel, etc., etc. But this is actually ensuring that a lifeline, the economic lifeline which exists between India and several of the countries we've discussed, is protected, right, and enhanced.
First of all, I think that what we need to understand is that India is going to be the central country of this entire project. India is going to be the hub of all things will be produced here. China used to be and still dominates the entire supply chain. So any brief disruption in this supply chain can question the food security to everything. So replacing, I'm not going to say that India can replace China immediately, but we indeed need a country where other countries can rely more. So India is going to be that kind of a place for the entire region, especially for West Asia, and from West Asia to European countries. So in this sense, yes, what we are going to become and what this project is going to become is to provide a secure and resilient infrastructure from food security to other infrastructure, including digital infrastructure, which we are talking about. So in this sense, this project is indeed, as President Biden has also said, game-changing.
Sure.
So I think that we are heading in that direction.
So what I find interesting is that if you look at maritime safety and security, and which is incredibly linked with economic prospects, the Chinese have already got a base in Djibouti. They're looking to step up and create infrastructure. They already are in Gwadar in Pakistan. India is countering that with an investment in Chabahar in Iran. And now India is perhaps countering that with the creation of this linkage with Jeddah directly. So therefore, could you tell us a little bit about the maritime domain, how this is part of an effort at controlling the growth of China in the Indian Ocean region?
Look, it's not only controlling the growth of China. What we are looking, as Indians, we are looking is the larger Indian interest, basically.
Sure.
Our larger interest is that our maritime links should be with the West Asia as well as with Europe. Now, you know, in the past also we had, you know, through the Red Sea, the trade. If you see thousands of years back, you know, Indian pearls and Indian, precious stones were being exported to Egypt during the Pharaoh's time. So there was a maritime trade between India and the Red Sea countries. So this is an old thing. The only thing is, as I have very right from the beginning I'm saying, that we should not see it as a new initiative in order to see. We should see it as a revival of this initiative. Whatever China is doing, they may be doing. So it's not that we should see only that we are trying to, play the Chinese card, or Americans are trying to play the Chinese card over India.
It's in our interest.
It's in our interest, in our larger
fair
interest,
point.
in our countries, our nation's larger interest.
Sure.
Yeah.
Look, I'd like to thank you all very much for being with us. It is such an important relationship for India at so many levels. There's a historic aspect of all of this, but there's also the futuristic relationship and, of course, trade and the economy center to it all.